Hello, and welcome to the Lore of Braunhaven. We're going to continue discussing the village of Stagholm at the foothills of the Skellus Mountains, right at the frost line. And on Tuesday, we talked about Olaf's General Goods, which is run by Olaf Gunnarsson, and he, on the second floor, has a residence with his wife Britta and their two daughters, Mistina and Cherry. And today we will continue our discussion. So there is the an inn and tavern in the village called the Zeistswagger Inn and Tavern, and it is actually run by Olaf's wife Britta, and with the help of their two daughters Mistina and Cherry. And Britta is a fiery tempered redhead with a sharp wit, and she, of course, does all the cooking, runs the bar. She operates the small kitchen there, and she has the girls operate the as basically waitresses, and they tend to the rooms on the second floor. Most of the village will meet in the Zeistswagger as dinner mealtime usually. Probably not so much breakfast, but they'll meander in and out throughout the day, as you will, lunch and dinner, and possibly a small break for a pint. And but for the very few guests that come through the town, the rooms are available. In the second floor rooms, they have a private room, which costs one cestus piece per night. And uh, there are two shared rooms for five facial, and then there is a common room where there's no bedding, but there is a fireplace, and you can just throw down your bedroll. Usually, the common room. I mean, if you're really cozy with the people you're sleeping with, it'll sleep five. But usually, you're talking more about three if you want a little bit of space. And that room will run you one facial per night. They do have, they can draw you a bath, or, um, there is grooming services, which will cost a little bit more, but those are the general services on the second floor. Now, an outbuilding of the Zeistswagger is actually a stable and a smith, and there are two outbuildings. There's a stable, and then there's a smithy. And so you can stable your horses or other animals that you are keeping with you, um, such as like sled dogs and the like. And they also will store barding and tack and harnesses or sleds, and all of that runs four facial per night, and that includes feed for the animals. And basic grooming services, if you're not going to do it yourself, they will charge you a little bit extra. If you want to brush out the horses and that that will cost you a little bit extra. The smith is run by Jeannie Emmanuel, and she used to be a sellsword that basically operated as a caravan guard, running up and down throughout the Skellus Mountains, protecting merchant trade caravans traveling from Braunhaven all the way to Zlatoheim. And so she is a burly woman. She is a human, and she is uh, quite gruff, but she has a very good nature. She is also an excellent smith. She is the only professional smith in the area, unless you want to travel all the way to. I believe Gnomeveholm may have a smith. Definitely Zlatoheim, or if you want to turn around and backtrack all the way back to the town of Braunhaven. So it's quite the hefty jaunt to travel from the village of Stagholm, at the very least, to get to Gnomeveholm up in the Skellus Mountains. So this is your last chance for any kind of smithing work. For general purposes, I mean, her day in and day out is typical stuff that the villagers would need around the town. Making wrought iron spits for campfires, and iron stakes and things of that nature. Maybe even some tack and harness or shoeing horses occasionally. But she's capable of much more. So she's the woman to talk to if there is something that you are very interested in, perhaps making a custom sword or something like that. She would jump at the chance. Of course, you would have to bring the materials with you, though there are many mines around, so you could probably purchase those resources from miners. Up here, we have Morlon's Guides. It is run by Roger Morlon, and he has three brothers, Shet, Curdy, and Bo. And the three of them run Morlon's Guides, along with a Stygian named Skopti Verbranson. And Skopti is huge. Skopti is just about 9 feet tall, and he will tell anybody that wants to listen to him that he has the blood of frost giants in his veins from his father's side of the family. Nobody knows who his mother was, and if she was human, that poor woman. But he has white hair, stark white hair, and a white long beard that he keeps braided. And his skin is very pale. Some would say almost a bluish tint. It's not the kind of pale where they look translucent, and we've all seen those guys, where the veins are popping out. No, his skin almost is pale to the point of like a light, very light blue. Um, and he just has this towering height. The poor man has to bend over, hunch over every building he walks in, and usually he's barely, the top of his head is on most 10-foot ceilings is going to be just barely scraping the top, and most buildings don't even have a 10-foot ceiling. They would have like maybe a 7 or 8 foot ceiling. So he he has a hard time, but he's a very kind, gentle giant, and he is also an excellent ranger. He works as a guide throughout the mountains, guiding people up through the mountains to Zlatoheim. Is usually his route is from Stagholm to Zlatoheim, and he and Roger Morland and Roger's three brothers are all very tight and very close. Um, it the Roger Morland and his brothers also have dog kennels on the backside of Morland's guides, and they usually keep in those kennels about 24 sled dogs. Um, and they can rent anywhere from a day to a 3 day excursion for 8 dogs and a sled for 3 cestus pieces per day. Morlon actually, the Morlons actually breed those dogs, and so they will occasionally sell a team of dogs and a sled for 130 cestus pieces. But they only do that if they have a full kennel of 24 dogs available and they know that they're going to have pups on the way. If they're at a lower number of dogs and if they can be convinced to do it, they may sell a team of dogs, but the price will actually double because that's going to make it more difficult for them, of course, to breed those dogs, or they'll have to perhaps go and get more and train them and etc. So yeah, it's not out of the question if they don't have a full kennel, but be prepared to pay that extra price. To the north, we have the northern loop. So this northern loop travels back up and around this mountain bend and meets back up with the Eastern Tradeway. And usually, if it's about 45 miles west of the Barbarous Trade Bridge as the crow flies. And it's it puts you in the vicinity of the Abbey of the Order of the Martyr, which we will also be discussing in the very near future. Weather conditions up through the northern loop vary greatly because this is the base of the northern loop in the village of Stagholm is actually where the frost line lays. And so the base of the Northern Loop Trail as it's leading out of Stagholm is usually covered in a light layer of frost, usually anywhere from about 6 inches to a foot of snow will sit there, and a cold wind blows down through this pass, and so it is not really the most popular route, but because of the cold weather conditions. But it is, if you're going to Stagholm, it is the fastest way, regardless. And so it might make for an uncomfortable journey because of the winds, but it is going to be shorter than going all the way back through the southern loop and back up the eastern tradeway. So temperatures in the winter months can be anywhere from -5 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, the lowest temperature in the summer months is usually about -1, and that's if there is a bitter wind that's blowing down from the mountains. The Skelos Mountains have some crazy weather patterns. They do get snow even in the summer. It is a possibility that a cold snap will come through. So and usually that's from weather coming in off of the Frostholm Sea and just kind of causing havoc in the summer months. So, like I said, the Northern Loop Trail, the weather can be very bad, and the terrain is quite rugged. If especially in the fall and winter months, if you are in the spring months really, if you are going up through that trail, Olaf and of course Roger Morlon will tell you. They will recommend equipment such as crampons and climbing gear, rope, and pitons and grappling hooks. And they, of course, from fall through winter and spring, would really recommend cold weather gear such as heavy tents, furred boots, things of that nature, in order to protect you, because frostbite in the Skelos Mountains can be a very, very real thing. So that is the village of Stagholm, and next time we will be discussing the Skelos Mountains, the Abbey of the Order of the Martyr, which is a clerical order that they are kind of an offshoot. They actually worship a saint rather than one of the gods, and they've been kind of ostracized by the Chapel of the Known Gods, and not chased, but when Vuslux was mandated as the one true god and the only legal religion of the empire, the abbey, the Order of the Martyr, decided to take over this abbey up in the Skelos Mountains, kind of taking refuge up there because they know that the Galatian Empire very rarely sends people up into the Skelos Mountains because of the rugged terrain and because they have lost so many of their tax assessors. They kind of live a cloistered life up there and are free of being messed with. So catch us next time, and we will go over the Abbey of the Order of the Martyr and what they're clerics and paladins, so we can go over what they're all about. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next Tuesday.